Travis Wayne Goodsell. Yesterday, there was a tabloid about new archaeological discovery may support the Exodus story. I am the expert in this field. This is my research. I went into it. I studied it. It's mine. I'm degreed, educated, graduated, published, experienced, etc., etc., etc. This is my field. Nobody is better at it than me. I am the only one on the face of the earth who went into this field, therefore I'm the only expert. So, I already knew it was BS. I already know the result of this video. I wrote about it on the bus. But I nonetheless saw that there were pretty pictures from Egypt. Cool. I clicked on it. And yeah, I got some awesome pictures. Got the hieratic text from 1188 BCE, as well as the print on the stone that they're claiming. And I got it only because it has Paleo-Hebrew marking on it. Do you know how rare this is? Probably not. Nonetheless, this is what they're saying. This is number 7 in their 10 ways that may support the Exodus story. The unification of El and Yahweh. So you are not likely to know the problems and errors that this part of the segment has. I do. The whole thing is wrong. Or as Joseph Smith called Christianity, all wrong, all abominable, all corrupt. Thank you, Pope Leo the 14th. Is it 14th? Whatever number it is. For finally coming out 4 months late to confess that Christianity was formulated 1700 years and 4 months ago. And Stanford sent me a video link to the Pope also confessing that Daniel's interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the idol statue god was fulfilled with the fall of Christianity. Gotta hand it to the new Pope. Yeah, we're false. We're a fraud. Can't we all just get along? So I'll read over it. I won't go into specific details of how this is botched. Just the general concept of the biblical warning against doing this. Matthew chapter 7, starting verse 15, how to identify whether words from somebody or some document or the voices in your head are true or false, good or bad. You run the test. And it's a scientific test because they liken the word unto a seed. And you have to use science to produce fruit from a seed. Likewise, you can't do anything with the word if you don't produce the results of it. There are consequences to the words we speak or write or sign and secret combination codes. And thus, those are based upon our beliefs. And so if our beliefs are wrong, as Bruce R. McConkie tells us in the Book of Alma, I believe it's chapter 12, only in the footnotes. It's higher level learning. I'll remember section 134, right? Come on. So 13 is for high priests, and 12. Alma contends with Zeezrom. This is Bruce R. McConkie making the chapter headings for us. The mysteries of God can be given only to the faithful. Okay, Bruce, whatever. Men are judged by their thoughts, beliefs. Read the whole chapter. I dare you to find beliefs. You won't. Words and works. The wicked shall suffer a spiritual death, but physically they'll do great. The repentant have a claim on mercy to rob justice through the only begotten Son, about 82 BC. Bruce. He knows no better now than he did then that he doesn't know. Okay? Through this simple, basic process of running tests, scientific tests, not spiritual witness feeling prayers, for confirmation of truth. Science. It's all over the scriptures. Those Jews. So, the unification of El and Yahweh. When the Levites united with the Israelite tribes, wrong. They brought in the cult of Yahweh, wrong. While the tribes venerated El, wrong. Canaanite, highest deity, correct. Instead of having two gods, wrong. They equated El and Yahweh, wrong. Such syncretism of theology, wrong, as found in Levite written works, in the plural, wrong. Like Exodus 35:15 and Exodus 6:2-3 was the focal step in the formulation of monotheism, wrong. If the Levites had not migrated to Israel from Egypt, wrong. The path to one God in the Israelite religion, wrong, would have been longer, or perhaps never would have been reached at all, wrong. This is all based on the first creed of Christianity. That's why it's all wrong, all abominable, and all corrupt. Joseph Smith is so true. Thank you, Joseph. It's just unbelievable. The damage that Roman Emperor Constantine caused. 1,700 years and 4 months ago. So, You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Kate Hudson. Little darling of Hollywood. That was the movie she was in with the spiritualizing druggie guy who shouldn't be driving cars if he's on drugs. Your starting career? Awesome. What the hell happened? I'm wondering who fell worse, you or Charlie Sheen, live on his show, 2.5 Men. I don't know. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. He had his midlife crisis to ruin his career. And then his neighbor murdered him out in Europe. Rose, right? Is that her name? Rose? Oh, dear God. So Kate Hudson works for a woman's tabloid magazine. Her boss exposes that all of these magazines for women, talking about 3 ways, 7 ways, 10 ways to find this, that, or do this, that, or believe this, that, how to control your life, was all BS. Those of you who have seen the movie, oh, BS, I got it now. But it's not BS, Travis. Yep, exactly. Exactly. And so, yeah, the co-worker was not taught sex ed, and she fell for the trap of thinking that the guy loved her, wanted a relationship and a family and eternal happiness. And no, he was just working for the weekend. Women don't seem to understand the men's little factory and how it works. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has banned that conference talk by Packer. False doctrine now. They made a pamphlet of it just for us young boys. So my dad didn't give me sex ed as a result? My sisters learned about what a penis is. I got nothing. That's how it works in a Mormon family, apparently. God. Anyway. And so Kate gets the idea to do an article on it because she wants to talk about world peace. And her boss says, no. This isn't a magazine for world peace. This is a magazine for controlling people's behavior and what we tell them to think, feel, believe, and act. Alma chapter 12. It's all psychologically driven. Psychologists do this. And there, Bruce R. McConkie condemns psychology. Why is Utah the #1 capital of psychologists? Why is that, Bruce? You will know no better now than you did then. What the hell happened? Bruce R. McConkie dies and the church goes to hell. And so, how to lose a guy in 10 days. How to lure men in to want you so badly that they can't live without you, and then dump them to the curb. And so it wasn't just a matter of how to lose a guy in 10 days, because women can lose a guy instantly. It's not hard to lose a guy. It was a specific, malicious, vicious attack to control men's behaviors and crush them like the grapes of wrath. And so, at a party, before his spiritualism drug years, he's there, and he made a bet with his buddies, his bros, before hoes, that he can hook up with any woman in 10 days. I don't know if it was the same, I doubt it. There was a time limit for that one. And so yes, the two teams got together to sabotage both bets. It was headed for ultimate destruction in a relationship. You don't need to do that. You just need to go to an older singles ward. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where hearts are broken every week. Lives are ruined. Futures destroyed. Hearts frappéed in a blender every single Sunday. And we keep going back for more. Maybe this time it'll be different. Nope. No, it won't. It just gets worse. It just gets worse. I mean, Freddy Krueger dream that I had was better and more peaceful than the singles ward. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. Run! Run! And so, yeah, comedy ensued, and he was good. He was putting on the charm. Took her to the fam's house. Oops. Warning, Kate, warning. Run. Yeah, that's the turning point for her. Being around his family, getting an understanding of him as an individual, seeing his origin story. Who follows me? Nobody? Okay, whatever. And she fell in love. And then she didn't want to go through with it. You have to. Your job is on the line. You will never publish world peace ever. Regardless of whether you do this or not. So yeah, the game of BS, the card game. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints condemns all card games with face cards. Go fish. I never understood as a little kid. Never understood. When we got together with extended family, they, was it canasta? I think it was canasta. I would find out that they were up late, and so I wanted to join and play with the adults, and so they let me join, and they joked about how face cards were evil and all this, and I knew nothing of that yet. I'm still too young. I'm still in primary. They don't tell us that face cards are of the devil. That's when we turn 12 years old. Along with our little factory talk. The pamphlet. Here you go, Travis. Read it and weep. That's as far as the church will go. And now it's been banned. And so, yes, they came to learn that psychology is BS. That to have a life controlled by other people and what they want you to live is just utterly wrong. So, KSL for last night's news. 4 ways to make holiday family time actually enjoyable this season. They never stop. They just won't stop. It's a violation of Alma chapter 12's Bruise Armor Conking footnotes. Chapter headings. They never learn. So, yeah. There aren't 4 ways. They're telling you how to live your life. But if your family time is not enjoyable, this ain't gonna help. It is not gonna help. You are doomed and you're on a downward spiral to hell. And it's because the core belief was wrong. And so what they're doing here is symptom management rather than treating the causation. Way too many families are destroyed because the church sabotaged us from the beginning. How to lose a Mormon in 10 days. That could have been, but we already got another title for the video. Already got another title for the video. On the bus. On the bus. On the bus. Alrighty. So, controlling other people's behavior. In the Joseph Smith papers, there's a journal book that was written 40 years later with other pages of faded ink. But they compiled it together and published it into a journal and claimed that it's all by Joseph Smith. And yet clearly whoever's writing this is not Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith is not even being dictated. Because they talk about Joseph and Sidney are working on the Joseph Smith history. Yeah, this is not Joseph's journal. A big tip-off. What the hell, guys? Nonetheless, a big bombshell just nuked the church. Again. So we go back after July 4th and before July 28th. Because the screenshot only covered the one part top bottom part of the thing. There's more to this, as I've already gone over this video with you when I went over it in greater detail. Thus far, according to the order of the Danites. Oops, I was supposed to do the scripture first. Why didn't you tell me? I told you 134. So verses 7 and 10 pertain to religion. How religions are required to behave. If they're going to be calling themselves a religion. This is Joseph Smith. This isn't somebody else. Joseph Smith was in Far West today, so I'm going to talk about government and religion. No. Joseph dictating. We believe that rulers, states, and governments have a right and are bound to Jesus to enact laws for the protection of all citizens in the free exercise of their religious belief. You're going to be judged by them. But we do not believe that they have a right and justice to deprive citizens of this privilege or prescribe them in their opinions, so long as a regard and reverence are shown to the laws, and such religious opinions do not justify sedition nor conspiracy. So Joseph Smith just explained the First Amendment in its entirety, because it's not just religions. Freedom of religion, it's freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peaceably assemble, petition the government for a redress of grievances. You are not free to cause sedition or conspiracy coup. Verse 10. We believe that all religious societies have a right to deal with their members for disorderly conduct. Troublemakers. Number 36434. According to the rules and regulations of such societies, provided that such dealings be for fellowship and good standing. But we do not believe that any religious society has authority to try men on the right of property or life or liberty, to take from them this world's goods, or to put them in jeopardy of either life or limb, or to inflict any physical punishment upon them. Now, this is the scriptures canonized by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Keep that in mind. They can only excommunicate them from their society and withdraw from them their fellowship. Okay? All right. Back to the Danites. Order of the Danites. That's not Joseph Smith's church. It's the Order of Emmanuel. We have a company of Danites in these times to put to rights physically. that which is not right, and to cleanse the church. Notice how section 134, which I don't think was put, it was a part of Joseph Smith's 1835 Doctrine and Covenants. Yeah, right before. On government, that's right. I remember. So they had this, 1838, they had section 134 as a different section, but they had it, on government. It's closer to the front, I believe. Had on government, that's why I remember it. And yet, here they are, violating it. They're claiming to be another religion within Joseph Smith's religion, and that they are going to physically alter other people's behavior, other Mormons' behavior, that they are going to cleanse Joseph Smith's church, because Joseph Smith isn't doing it. So, the bombshell video, 3.5 hours the other day. The Kirtland apostasy, right before this. So, April 6th, 1830, Church of Christ. Joseph Smith, 6 boys. It's all about the Book of Mormon. They go around, give people the Book of Mormon, and as men join, they go out as missionaries, elders, to give Book of Mormons. To sell them, actually. They had to sell them back in those days. And that's how converts were made. Those who read the Book of Mormon and believed and started running the tests on the precepts in the Book of Mormon were baptized into the church. Churches were established in the townships. 1832, Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball joined. They weren't going to join. Indiana boys convinced them to join. They convert masses of men. Those masses of men go out on missions and convert others without the Book of Mormon, claiming it's the Church of Jesus Christ, that the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ, if they even use the Book of Mormon, but they don't. So people who are converting under this new group of converts, who are going out on missions, are believing they're joining a new American Christian church with Jesus, just like 1700 years and 4 months ago. But they're not at the core where Joseph Smith is. But Joseph Smith is aware of it. He's aware of members who think they're Christian. And so, in September 1832, Joseph Smith says, "Hey, the whole church is under condemnation because you're telling people the wrong religion, claiming we're Christian. You put the whole church under condemnation. Stop it." Well, in December 1832, they didn't stop it. Joseph Smith again came out and called them apostates. Sections 84 and then section 86. The missionaries were calling Joseph Smith's church Christian, not using the Book of Mormon. not using, well, the Book of Commandments was 1833. So, Book of Commandments, 1833. 1834 comes along. Sidney Rigdon, in a priesthood meeting, raises his hand. I propose a name change to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. All in favor? Unanimous. It's now the Church of the Latter-day Saints. 1835, a quorum of the 12 apostles is established to organize the missionary efforts, with Thomas B. Marsh as the president of the quorum of the 12. It is his responsibility to give assignments to the elders of the 70 under them to go out to townships that don't have a church established and to see if they can establish a church. Then, when they do, they return and report. Thomas B. Marsh writes it in the Elders' Journal and then returns and reports to Joseph. We've established townships in these particular towns, and then we have them sent out to other townships. So Thomas B. Marsh knows exactly what's going on, and likewise Joseph. It's orderly. It's not just random. Yeah, just go out, whoever you can find, join them to the church. No, it's orderly. They know. So they don't keep sending elders to the same location where the people said, you were just here a month ago, we told you no, leave us alone. And then you put it in the investigator records, for which the zone leader thinks that you're an apostate because you're not getting 200 baptisms every month. Then he sees your 2 volumes of 4-inch thick binders of investigator records, and he goes, oh, you are doing work. Bleep you! Memories on the corner of my mind. And then even after I left, they ignored them until they got back and they checked with what their results were. And they went, oh, yeah, there it is. He was right. Bunch of young punks thinking they know everything. Oh, God. So, yeah. 18, there's obviously stuff in 1836, but 1837, Joseph Smith starts the Kirtland Safety Society in Kirtland. They're a brand new township, and so the banks aren't wanting to put an official bank there. And so that requires the townships to have their own bank established to prove themselves to the big banks. For the big banks will trust them and put an actual bank in their township. So, the initial converts of Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball were taking out loans and not paying them back. They were living high on the hog, living the rich lifestyle, deep in debt, and refusing to pay the debt. That collapsed the bank. And as members were being gathered to Kirtland since 1835, with the name change, and then, 1836, the temple. Almost forgot. The temple. 1836, March 27th. And so Christians of the second wave are gathering to Kirtland to be one united body of at least 1,000. And they're unaware of the Book of Mormon. They think they're Christian, that Jesus is the Christ. And so they're coming in and they're finding out there's a temple, not a church, and that it's the Church of the Latter-day Saints, not the original Church of Christ, the old standard of Christianity. And they find out that there's a leader of their church who claims to be a seer, prophet, revelator, and a translator of Paleo, Hebrew, and Egyptian, with the keys of Moses. As a Christian, they're not happy. This is not Christian. So while the Danites are living high on the hog, the Christians are deeply disturbed. What the hell is this Book of Mormon? A Bible, we've got a Bible, and we need no more Bible. And the Doctrine and Covenants of 1835? Oh, hell no! The Bible is our word. They're Christian. They were brought into the church wrong. Joseph Smith now has more than just the missionaries to contend against. And so the bank fails, the Christians rise up and form a coup, creating their own old standard Church of Christ as Christian. And then they want to murder Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith in January 12th, 1838, has to flee Kirtland for his life. The Danites got rid of Joseph Smith. And so July 6th, 1838, as James caught on to the painter, wondering, there's snow in July? It's titled the Kirtland Exodus. The Kirtland Exodus began July 6th. Nonetheless, this is the context for this, because it's after July 4th when Sidney Rigdon gave his salt sermon. This company, or a part of them, exhibited on the 4th day of July. And so this is 40 years later when they're putting this in. The Danites, though in charge now, getting rid of Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon, and having divided the church of those who wanted to be full Christian who stay behind, and those who, oh no, Joseph is gone, what do we do? Is the church still true? They're being controlled now by the Danites. The Danites, they came up to consecrate by companies of 10s commanded by their captain over 10. Sound familiar, Brigham? Uh-huh. And their whole intention was to lead them to take over the state of Missouri, the Mormon War. That is now the bigger context that this paragraph, in and of itself, would not appear to Mormons. But my 3.5-hour video bombshell, oh dear God, this is a bigger can of worms from hell than I had previously realized when I first found this just the other month. So these Mormons are now being controlled by the Danites, having their agency taken from them. Those who they consider wicked are physically put right to cleanse Joseph Smith's church. They're using the apostate Christians as the, see what happened to them? And so these remaining Mormons are unable still to be put to rights by teachings or persuasions. But these Danites didn't use the teachings of the Book of Mormon or of the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants and the words of Joseph Smith, the man like Moses, the seer, prophet, revelator, translator of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. Their teachings, their persuasions, like my videos. Mormons are not going to be swayed by my videos, by my teachings of Joseph Smith, of the Book of Mormon, because they believe they are the judges over me. Huh. 200 years later, huh? Church is so true, isn't it? So yes, Adam on Diamond. And the future government coup of America. Deseret News, October 2nd, 1993. In September 1993, 6 BYU professors were fired and excommunicated for doing church history research. Putting to rights physically, going against Joseph Smith, Section 135, exactly like the Danites. They don't give a damn about what the Book of Mormon says. They don't give a damn what the Doctrine and Covenants says. They don't give a damn about Joseph Smith as the man like Moses, the prophet, the seer, the revelator, the translator of Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. They are the judges. They have authority because they believe in the name Jesus. Right, Oaks? I've given him advanced warning. He knows what talk is next. Call it quits now, Oaks, because it's only going to get worse for you. Call it quits now. You are no match for me. So Oaks was the one interviewed. Oakes explained, local leaders are informed by church headquarters about members who may possibly be violating church standards. Okay? So, Section 135 are Joseph Smith's rules, words that are scripture to be the law to govern the church. Section 42, verse 59. Danites don't give a damn. They cannot be persuaded by the scriptures or by the words of the prophet Joseph Smith. They are a law unto themselves, and all must obey them. And they have their secret words, their secret signs, so that they might distinguish a true Mormon from the rest of us apostates who need to be put to rights physically. Maybe possibly violating church standards. So the Strengthening Church Members Committee pores over newspapers, this was back in 1993, and other publications. Now they have the internet, and they have my brother, who failed as a sociologist, doctor, doing sociological research for the church to notify them about the membership and to make recommendations. And he refuses to be on social media. And so Alyssa Grenfell is a million view per video star on TikTok and 100,000s of views on YouTube with the occasional millions. And she sneaks right on by. Sneaks right on by. Because he's focused on his brother. But he never watched me. It was church headquarters. Todd, you're in this job, right? Do you want to keep your job? And they threatened him, and he had to pay $2,000 retainer for a lawyer, and the lawyer was stupid enough to tell me that my brother was threatened by the church. Wait, what? And you're coming after me about this and not the church, huh? Dear God. And so, yes, this extends to the internet. Social media, online websites, and Oakes came out on porn, saying that women are porn, and then went on to say, we need to hack people's computer devices and spy on them to know what their browser history is. We need to be able to hack their computers and find out what they're up to. You're a former prosecutor and a Utah Supreme Court justice, and were recommended twice to be SCOTUS, even though you were rejected, but still. And you're saying this over the pulpit of conference. So yes, all of the banning of porn, it's the church. There's no harm to children. Remember, they banned the little factory talk. Women are not evil. They're beautiful, lovely, of good report, and praiseworthy. I'm going to seek after them. You are not following the scriptures. And that's exactly what happened in West Valley, why I'm no longer in the church. I was denied going to church because of the video on YouTube. My bishop had told me from the beginning, oh, I don't watch YouTube, I don't do anything with that. But he then comes out and says, church headquarters notified me. Right here! You need to take down that video. What? The video on Adam fell that man might be from the Egyptian documents proving the Book of Mormon is true, and you want me to take it down because it's going against the leaders of the church and their doctrine that is not in harmony with the Book of Mormon? You see the connections here? This is not Joseph's church. They don't use the scriptures other than to trick people into joining, thinking it's Christian. They're doing the exact same pattern of practice. Guess what the consequences are coming up for? 15 million have already spiritually left. I am never going back because I told you I was doing research on the Carthage jail assassination. And then I found out, oh crap, it's an inside job. Yeah, Brigham Young as a murderer? You know, if Kwaku wants to stay in the church knowing that Brigham Young is a racist, that's between him and his created deity. Despite my warnings, nonetheless. But for me, yeah, you can't murder. Yeah, that was yesterday's short video that nobody wants to watch. Oh, Mormons are running and hiding from. And if there are any thumbs down on that video, yeah, you're the enemy. You're who I'm talking to. Because Mormons emulate the leaders. You use your example in life based upon the leaders. You steal from other people because the church steals. You murder and commit crimes because the church does. And you call them righteous so that you can justify committing crimes yourself. Right, Governor Cox? You follow their example, whether right or wrong, also from that text, from the journal. So they also want to find out who's preaching false doctrine, criticizing leadership or other problems. Can't be preaching false doctrine if I'm quoting from it. And yet, that information is forwarded on to the person's bishop or stake president, who is charged with helping them overcome problems and stay active in the church. Firing and excommunicating is helping us stay active, is it? And how well is that working? Avraham Gileadi from September 6 tells us how well it works. This is why they do what they do and claim it's helping us get activated, reactivated. Because he lost his job, because his whole life was centered on the church, because he was working for the church, and his career doesn't allow him any other field to go into anywhere else in the world. He became a slave servant to the church at BYU. He is good for nothing. He can only work for the church, and therefore he is fully dependent on the church for his lifestyle. He has a family, a Mormon family. He's got to take care of his Mormon family. He got fired. he can't get a job anywhere else. Remember what Joseph said about this? This is why the church wants to have religious freedom, to deny other people, so that all the church's businesses are run and operated by faithful Mormons, controlled by the church, that you have to conform and comply. You cannot criticize. You cannot disobey them, or they will destroy you. Your life is over. And so he came crawling back on his hands and knees, begging to be taken back. Now, yes, there's claims that, it was a mistake, and what do you do? I don't understand what's going on. And so they let him back in, but he got rebaptized. The excommunication was not overturned. He had to get re-baptized. Which means he had to re-get the priesthood. He had to re-get his temple ordinances. Because that's what it means if you got to be re-baptized. He was still punished, even though he didn't understand why. So, Oaks, are you a Mormon out of fear? He knows which talk is next. He knows. So yeah, me, born and raised in the church, faithful, 100% church attender, 100% seminary attender, watching all the conferences, go up to Rick's College, go on a mission to New York, then get married, passed up on Leanne Murdoch, the only regret in my life, sabotaged by the church. Taken up to Canada. You just get to go to the hospital and pick out the babies you want, and then they pay you for them. So cute. Canada has such adorable babies in their hospitals. Oh, I like that one too. And get me 2 of those. And that one with sprinkles. Ooh, that one glazed. Yeah, I bought some donuts too. I was in the mood for donuts. Not cookies this time, it was donuts. I was hoping that the sale was still on, but they didn't replace the price tags. So I can only get the 1 box instead of the 2. Anyway. And so, true to form for my patriarchal blessing, the path was set for me to learn what was necessary to decipher Paleo-Hebrew. To learn that Joseph Smith is correct from the King Follett sermon. Unpublished. Why isn't it published? Well, Brigham Young didn't approve of it. What? What do you mean Brigham didn't approve? Isn't Joseph Smith the head of our church? Nonetheless, I ignore Mormons who make those kinds of stupid statements, not realizing that it comes from the church leadership. I'm oblivious to it. I am unable to make those connections at that time. And so, yeah, Book of Mormon teaches Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian. The church, we don't know. You gotta get to the temple and Spirit will tell you. Well, I did that. Yeah, it didn't work. So let me do it my way now. And the way was paved. The foremost Hebraist taught under Thomas O. Lambden, whose English, Hebrew grammar, and vocabulary was the textbook worldwide at the time. It still is for the most part, but other people want to be new and trendy and plagiarize his work and call it their own. Nonetheless, there's only one way to translate biblical Hebrew, guys. There's not multiple ways. And that's what I learned. That's how I figured it out. Is that nobody knows Paleo-Hebrew. Biblical Hebrew was fixed into one and only one translation of a multi-personality disorder for every single Jewish author, because of the botched translations. Thanks to the Holy Roman Empire of Constantine and the first creed of Christianity. Screwed everything up. So, moved to Utah. All hell broke loose. It was Melissa's birthday, 1997. Having to work full-time and overtime during the Christmas rush to try to support a family. As she only came down, as we would find out later, to abandon me and go back up to Canada with the kids and my Paleo-Hebrew research. Her kids would not learn Hebrew. She was 4 and he was 2, and you know they adore you. Stupid Dixie chicks. After I came out of my shock, it was that song while driving to work on the freeway that broke me. Had to immediately pull over to the side of the road. Stupid Dixie chicks. Mormon Magna girls. Earl has to die. And dear God, if you're a cop, you better do your job. You don't want those Dixie chicks taking law into their own hands. Oh my, oh. Whew. Don't mess with a Mormon girl. And thus, the nightmare of the older singles ward. It all comes back, circumscribed into one great hole. And yet the temple uses the other definition that is not the correct definition. Nonetheless. So yeah, I had to redo the work, had to repurchase a computer, going around trying to find out if there's any more to translate. I need documents to run my vocabulary test for translation. Can't just make it all up like they did in the beginning. Because I have to decipher it first. And so I contacted F. Michael Watson at church headquarters. He was the one who claimed he had authority to speak on this matter. I wish my dad did not throw those letters away. Those were gems. Especially John Gee's letter to me. What a dumbass. Joseph Smith isn't true. You're a sensitive snowflake. Wah. And he does it in 4 different Egyptian translations. One of which was not even correct. Nonetheless. And so F. Michael Watson said that his BYU buddies told him the tradition it means that Joseph Smith is wrong. I already knew the tradition. I'm educated, degreed, and deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. I want more documents from Joseph Smith to run tests for. Don't give me this tradition crap, which I knew was wrong. You know? Yes, I know Paleo, mouth to God. That was John Taylor, not Joseph. Nonetheless. I want more! Give me more! And so instead, he just dismisses me. This is the tradition, and so Joseph is wrong. Whatever. So he took the fall to protect Gordon B. Hinckley. I then get a call from the stake clerk. Yeah, the stake president would like to see you, Travis, on Sunday. Okay. So I'm going, what the hell does the stake president want with me? Thinking I can't be a church calling. That would be weird. I'm not even married anymore. So I go in, knock on the door, and he's in a tiny little room. And this was the younger singles ward. And there's the younger singles ward bishop and his 2 counselors, along with the stake president and his 2 counselors, all crammed in the tiny little room. So I get in, squeeze in, I have to sit behind the door, and it has to close back first so I can then sit all tight in a chair. Couldn't you forget a bigger room? Couldn't you make this the Relief Society room? And immediately, the counselor says, "Who have you told about this?" What are we talking about? We want names! Give us lists of names! Who have you told? About what? I am being interrogated as if I'm a terrorist. And that I've leaked some kind of secret national security information that I'm going to disappear for the rest of my life. Coming up. They're activating me. This is all part of their activating of Mormons. The bishop who had gotten up at fast and testimony meeting to take up the whole time to keep the younger singles from getting up, and reads off a list of different types of masturbation. And I had no clue about any of it. They won't teach us sex ed. And yet apparently in Utah, where they still don't get taught sex ed, Mormon kids are that sexually deviant. And they have names for them. I have been missing out in this church. How did I get missed out on this? And, oh dear God, the news just this year alone. You guys have escalated the sexual deviance here in Utah to where it's not just funny anymore. Dear God. Horrifying. Anyway, and then he goes and says, I saw you skip taking the sacrament one Sunday. That means you're covering up a sin. I'm looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with you? What is going on here? I am completely in the dark, clueless. I found out Joseph Smith is a translator. He's a true translator. Scientifically proven. Not spiritual witness. Physically proven. And so yes, stake president said Gordon B. Hinckley said. And I went, no, Gordon B. Hinckley never saw it. Why does that shock you? I've got F. Michael Watson's letter. Oh, I'm going to go down and find out what's going on. So, meeting adjourned. Sometime later, I am sitting in the lobby of the stake president, or sitting somewhere in the building, and he never shows, and so I never knew what became of it until the second counselor came walking in the room. And he saw me and went, oh, yeah, you can continue your research, and then added, but don't go against the church. How is Joseph Smith is an actual physical, scientifically based translator going against oh. Now I understand. Why didn't you just tell us that from the beginning? Why did you give us the Book of Mormon? Why did you give us Joseph Smith as the founder? Why did you give us the Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Great Price and the Joseph Smith translation of the Bible? if you're not if you're not Joseph's, if you're Christian instead. This same deception of the Danites under Joseph Smith still continues to this day. They use Joseph Smith, the Doctrine and Covenants, and all of Joseph Smith's words, and the Book of Mormon to trap Mormons, to punish you. It is a trap that you have to be illiterate concerning all of the scriptures, that whatever they tell you is to be interpreted must be the word. That is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That they claim Christianity, but if you're Christian, get out. And if you dare show you're literate, get out. This was the Danite trap the whole time, to cleanse the church, to get rid of full Christians and to keep only those who know and understand that this is the order of Nehor, to create a belief system and have it enforced. This is how the church is pure evil, and Mormons emulate them in their behaviors. That's why you can never stay in the church and think you're going to make change from within. You can maybe rescue a few Mormons within the church, but that's not what I mean. Because that's all you're going to be doing, is you're going to be rescuing Mormons who are going to have to leave. You are not going to change this church. The Protect LDS Children Bishop, yeah, all he did was say, hey, can we have a list of questions for children? You're excommunicated. Get out of our church. So he did the whole campaign, Protect LDS Children. Thousands of us rebelled against this church, demanding that children be left alone sexually. And the church pretended to conform and comply and gave the list of questions for which the bishop was excommunicated for. And they went even above and beyond to say, hey, children can have a parent or guardian with them, an adult. And women too, if they're sensitive snowflakes and can't handle a bishop's grabby hands. But men, no. You get nobody with you. But as everybody thinks the church caved, we did it. Then they lowered the age for polygamy girls to 11 and changed the temple for women to obey the living prophet of Jesus, to obey your husband, making you think that you no longer have to wear the veil, which you wrongly interpreted was a slavery thing. And then the law of chastity is now polygamy. Because they were going to run a test the next year for the millennium, in which we all know polygamy will resume. But you still are a prostitute, as your husband has to pay the church in order to have sex with you. That's why this church is of the devil. This is not metaphoric. It's literal, physical. But we understand it spiritually, Travis. And Jesus is telling us to hurt you. We're going to get you, Travis. We're going to get you. So, yes, 2008. Again, they reactivated me again. Having me physically punished. A direct violation of Joseph Smith. Using the Utah law, all Mormon, to do it. And I got the receipts. The physical receipts. You know, like you get at the grocery store. With your ID in order to buy groceries. In a coming day.